Alrighty, a very, very happy Monday and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. Today is March 23rd of 2026, and we welcome you to another week, another episode, and I hope everyone enjoyed their weekend. I know I did. I had a good weekend. Watched my daughter finish up her basketball season on Saturday. Got a chance to let the kids run around at the Cincinnati Zoo. And then we went to church. A lot of fun things going on at the church. You got Palm Sunday next weekend, Easter Sunday as well. Man, Easter's right around the corner, if you believe it or not. I am not ready for it. I'm not financially ready for it. But that also means that baseball season is back, right? College baseball in full stretch. The Bearcats are on just had some Big 12 action over the weekend. We'll talk about that in our episodes. But the Cincinnati Reds are wrapping up spring training over the next couple of days. First game of the new 2026 MLB season begins Wednesday, where the Giants and the New York Yankees will take place at Oracle Park in San Francisco, California. And then the Reds take on the Boston Red Sox in a 3-game series. So we plan on catching up on spring training action here in today's episode. We're planning on being able to talk about the Cincinnati Reds opening day roster, as Terry Francona has had his fair share of things, crossed out and, filled out. And we'll be surprised. We'll talk about that. We'll get ready for Monday Night Raw. Road to WrestleMania continues as we are just 26 days, 7 hours, and 56 minutes before WrestleMania 42 kicks off in Las Vegas. And then this week, we will also talk about this week we'll talk about the American League and National League West teams as they are, we will provide our predictions, our breakdown, what brings excitement to the new ball club, and much more. So a lot of there to talk about here, but I wanted to kick things off with some March Madness basketball. First 2 rounds of the tournament has been completed, and I'm a part of a few different brackets. And, I'm not very much educated about all 64 teams. I realistically I go through and I pick the teams that I expect to win, maybe through patterns or through what I've seen talk about a lot on social media. And, in a nutshell, I try to do the best that I can with my brackets. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some. I like to at least stay involved and active as long as possible. I remember the first year I did my bracket picks, and I was like, all of my picks were eliminated after the first 2 rounds, and I'm like, oh boy. So, looking at my results, I'm very pleased in seeing some of these teams, I'm still in it. Out of the final 4, I've only been eliminated from one team, and that was Kansas, who ended up losing to Duke, or not Duke. Who ended up losing to St. John, or is it St. John's? Or I think it's St. John's. Back yesterday, and other than that, the only board I have missed out on, that was pretty much it. I have a clean record right now. Well, not in the Midwest. I ended up losing the Texas Tech game. Alabama ended up winning 90-65. But Michigan prevailed, and Tennessee prevailed, and Iowa State prevailed. So I have that going into the Sweet 16. Right now, all of my second round picks for the South won. Iowa, Nebraska. I have Illinois who won, and then Houston. So that's still very much alive. I have Arizona and who has advanced in the West, along with Texas and Purdue. And then, like I said, Kansas was my only team because Duke won. And I ended up having UConn, who faced Michigan State. And they will be taking each other on in the Sweet 16. So I have 3 of my 4 teams in my Final Four still available: Nebraska, Iowa State, and Arizona. And then I have one out been eliminated. In my other bracket, I have yet been eliminated out of any one of them. The closest one I've been towards elimination was because I ended up going with Clemson. And then I had Florida, who was eliminated by Iowa, so they wouldn't be qualified to go into the Elite Eight. So, and it was kind of complicated. But, because I have Duke, Houston, Arizona, and Michigan. So we're getting down to it, and then you look at the points. I'm, currently leading in some of my bracket points, which is the first time. Usually I'm utterly failing at this point, but yeah. How are your brackets going? It's kind of fun. It's interesting, especially when you're picking the right teams and teams are just, things are just going your way. So I'm definitely excited about that. The Sweet 16 begins Thursday with 4 games. We have Texas against Purdue, Iowa against Nebraska, Arkansas taking on Arizona, and Illinois taking on Houston. The first game is on CBS at 7:10, followed by a 7:30 tip-off on TBS. And then CBS has a 9:45 and then 10:05 on TBS. And that's on the 26th. On Thursday, follow up a Reds victory. We watch some basketball. On Friday, we will have the St. John's taking on Duke on CBS, 7:10, 7:35, Alabama and Michigan on TBS. On CBS at 9:45, Michigan State and UConn. And on TBS at 10:10, Tennessee versus Iowa State. And then over the weekend, we will have the Elite Eight displayed on, I want to say Saturday and Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So, a lot of basketball here still left to be played. But if you're still in the bracket, please let me know. Like to hear what you guys have to say or think. Please like, share, and subscribe. And be a part of those conversations so you guys can jump on and talk some basketball with me. All right. Let's move along. We have the Cincinnati Bearcats. What's going around town? The Bearcats played and hosted Utah, the UDs, in the Big 12 action over the weekend, and it was UC Bearcats dominating the UDs, beating them 2 out of 3 in a 3-game series. The first game they won Friday night, 13-4. The Bearcats put up 20 runs in Saturday's win over the UDs, 20-10. And then they lose 11-13 in yesterday's action. The Bearcats move on to A 19-7 record, I think, is really well in the Big 12. They are 3-3 in conference play. They're on a one-game losing streak with a 10-2 record at home and 9-5 on the road. And then they head off to across the highway to Xavier at Hayden Field for a Joe Nuxhull Classic game tomorrow, March 24th at 3 p.m. We'll review that information tomorrow as we head closer to game day. Alrighty, the Cincinnati Reds, they're wrapping up spring training baseball here. They took on the Chicago Cubs, who had a split games on Friday. The Reds beat the Cubs, final score of 8-6. And then we head on over to Saturday's ball games, where the Cincinnati Reds ended up falling. I think they ended up beating the Chicago White Sox 11-7. And then on Sunday, yesterday's ball game, where were they at? The Reds lose to the Cleveland Guardians 8-2. Gavin Williamson picked up the victory. Nick Lodolo, who left with a blistered finger yesterday, early in the game. Hopefully he's doing okay. I'm glad that it's not an elbow injury. I'm glad that it's not internal. I'd much rather deal with a blister 7 days of the week. But it's those little things, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't Brady Singer also deal with a blister? Or was that Andrew Abbott? I don't remember. But we got to find some high hopes for this ball club heading into opening day. And I say that here, even though we see a couple of more games on this schedule. Today, the Reds will take on the Brewers at American Family Field in Milwaukee. It'll be a 2-game series. The Reds don't have themselves a pitcher yet scheduled for tomorrow. I can only assume it's going to be a minor league pitcher. And a matter of fact, I don't know how much starters, if at all, tomorrow are going to actually play. I think that was a day game tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think it's actually the first pitch is at 5:10, so it's more early evening game. But today's game, first pitch, 7:40 p.m., we got the 14-15 Cincinnati Reds taking on the 12-16 Milwaukee Brewers. Is it Aaron Ashby? Yep, Aaron Ashby will be on the mound. A left-handed pitcher. He is 1-0 with a 1.17 ERA with 8 strikeouts. As Brady Singer will be on the mound, he is a right-handed pitcher, 1-0 on the spring with a 3.55 ERA with 9 strikeouts. For me, these next 2 days, I play a little bit more cautiously, okay? It's nothing against the Cincinnati Reds. It's nothing against, but we are heading into the season, and I'm just telling myself over the next 48 hours, please do not do anything stupid. Do not do anything to hurt yourself. Do not do anything to get hurt, to get put on the IL. We already have, Hunter Green and Caleb Ferguson out. We don't need to add to the drama. So please, whoever is starting, whoever is playing and partaking in the next 2 games, which I don't see it often. I know these next 2 days, I'm typically used to seeing the Giants and the Athletics, the Mets and the Yankees, the Dodgers and the Angels, right? I'm used to seeing the Mariners and the Padres. I don't really see a whole lot of Reds playing baseball on these next 2 days. So whenever we get scheduled like this, it is a strategy for Terry Francona and the Cruz you have the opportunity. You can keep these guys warm, playing at least 4 or 5 innings before getting ready. I feel like it's an extra travel day. It's a stop before you get to come home. If it was me, knowing that opening day is on Thursday, I would want them to go home, at least our starters to go home by Tuesday and relax with their friends, their families, their loved ones, and get ready for the 2026 season, because that's our focus, is our next season. I don't really want to expose too much of what we have, the talent we have, to Milwaukee right now. Maybe I'm just superstitious that way. I just want to let them play the minor league guys, let them be able to, get 9 innings in and get 9 innings out. I think this is a perfect time for a lot of the younger talent to get the work in and some of the players to get established. If you are having any doubt, any concern for what the minor league holds, for what a 26-man roster looks like for the for Louisville Bats, then this is the place to do it. Otherwise, it's getting spring training work in. That's usually how I would handle this situation. Now, if we were still trying to determine who was going to be on the 26-man roster, and it's really up in the air, and these 2 final games can do a lot of that, but usually by now, officially, I call it, we're officially done with spring. We're heading into exhibition games that don't mean anything but give some work to some of these younger guys, and I really proceed with caution, because the last thing we need is one of our top prospects or somebody to get injured, to get hurt, and then we're SOL. So even throwing out there that Brady Singer's out there is definitely kind of one of those disguise moves. All right. We want to go ahead and review the Cincinnati Man's 26-man roster, something that we've been watching Terry Francona fill out the final spots over the past week. Before we do that, we want to just give a big shout out for those who have the T-Mobile service plans. I have the T-Mobile service plan through my phone coverage, and because of that, I qualify, along with you, your T-Mobile customers, qualify for T-Mobile Tuesdays, with exclusive deals and rewards that are given to you. Drops every Tuesday. This week, March 24th, you can get your MLB at bat free for the entire year on the T-Mobile Tuesday app. T-Mobile Tuesday app is a number one source for T-Mobile customers to get exclusive deals, and the MLB TV subscription that you get through the app, because you're a T-Mobile plan, is a value of $150 to catch any out-of-market games throughout the course of the year, which means if it's not televised or not held in the local area, you could get it with free of charge. Now, this does not include the Cincinnati Reds TV package. That will still be cost of $99 for the entire season, something I'll be looking into getting later on today. But this is you think about that. $100 to get all 162 Reds games. You have another $149 value to get all the out-of-market games. So for $100 in a $250 value, I think that would be a pretty good deal. So if you guys are T-Mobile customers, please keep an eye out on that deal. I know I am. If you are a Cincinnati Reds fan that has not gotten your Reds TV, be sure to do it today and lock in your 2026 season. All right. So let's be honest with each other. It has not been an easy walk through the park when it comes down to the Cincinnati Reds and putting together a 26-man roster. I think the expectations came through a little bit of injuries with Hunter Green and Caleb Ferguson, allowing opportunities for some of these younger guys. But we also have the younger guys to come in, and we have the opportunity for these younger guys to come in and make a name for themselves. We have guys who can replace in the role of the guys who've already been out, which is a positive thing. That means we have depth and we are growing talent, right? So I really enjoy watching the Reds go out here and put all this together. Now, it wasn't heading into spring. We expected Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer, Nick Lodolo, and a spot to be battled for the fifth spot in the rotation. That spot would be battled between Chase Burns, Brandon Williamson, and Rhett Lauder. Our bullpen had a battle of their own, but I feel like it was just more so for depth purposes. Emilio Pagan expected to be our closer. Caleb Ferguson and Pierce Johnson, in my opinion, are lined up to be situational pitching. Tony Santillan, Graham Ashcraft, Brock Burke, Connor Phillips, Sam Maul as well, all down in the bullpen, battling for the remaining spots. And then injuries kind of prevail. Hunter Green goes down. The rotation opens up. So now, if you're thinking Chase Burns could be your fifth spot, well, you got to find between Rhett Lauder and Brandon Williamson. So, and then defensively, we picked up Nathaniel Lowe. He had an impressive spring. Sal Stewart looks to be a breakout star. We really didn't know how that spring went. We knew we were going to see something special from Sal Stewart. We just want that to carry over into the regular season. We picked up Nathaniel Lowe and ready to put him on the main roster just in case. Christian Encarnacion Strand dealt with some injuries throughout the course of spring this year. And then we came into the outfield where, we did pick up a J.J. Bleday and a Dane Myers. Maybe the positions weren't open for both of them. But now the conversation comes through, well, who's going to be on the 26-man opening day roster? Mark Sheldon on the MLB.com website posted this article ahead of the opening day as the Cincinnati Reds make their final cuts. Back on Saturday, outfielder J.J. Bleday and Reese Hines and right-handed pitcher Zach Maxwell would be optioned down to AAA Louisville. That meant for lefty reliever Sam Maul, outfielder Dane Myers, and a non-roster first baseman Nathaniel Lowe has made the team. So, Terry Francona says we talked to everybody. Right? Reese Hines batted .410. He had a 1.410 OPS in 21 games with the club this spring. 5 home runs was recorded. Bleday, who signed as a free agent on a $1.4 million contract back on December 27th, he only batted for .317. Some really good arguable numbers with 15 in 15 games, he hit 4 home runs. Both outfielders have minor league options, which are great to be used. Not just that, it was the role. It's a bench role. This is what Terry Francona said. We really want Bleday and Hines to play, and we told them that because they both swung the bat really well, And we talked to Lowe about his role just to make sure. Hines couldn't have done more. It was very careful with how I worked him. No, you did not. You did enough to make the team. The role is a bench, and we want you to play. So I think it's apparent. Terry Francona is sending Reese Hines and JJ Bleday down to AAA using their options, not because of their performance, but because of the roles that they need to finish in. They already have 1 through 8. They got all the position players already picked out. They need guys coming off the bench. And Terry Francona, this says this is a role base. So we need, and you are batting very well. You are playing extremely well. We want you to be out there on the field every day. In order to do that, we have to put you down in AAA. That's our only opportunity to give you that best option. Otherwise, you'll be coming off the bench. You're going to be icing your arm and icing your powers, icing your legs. We're not going to get the best utilization out of you coming off the bench. So let's use you on a day-to-day basis out there in Louisville and start the season off that way. Entering Saturday, Maul has worked 9 scoreless innings in 9 appearances, who hit 6 walks and wins 6 strikeouts. Francona said, I would say the last 4 outings, his stuff has been really ticked up. His changeup has been really good. With Ferguson down, it gives us a second lefty. It just seems to make sense to us. The official roster doesn't have to be set until just before opening day, which means potential waiver claims could be a slight change, but it appears unlikely. Francona says, I'm sure that they are not going to just turn their phones off. I totally get that. This is according to Nick Kroll. But we made the teams, we made our team for a reason. The 26-man, it looks like this. As the catchers, we have Tyler Stevenson, Jose Trevino. Stevenson is the longest tenured with the Reds. Trevino is one of the club's most respected veteran leaders. We have 5 infielders: Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, Key Brian Hayes, Sal Stewart, Nathaniel Lowe. The final bench spot went to the non-roster veteran and Lowe, who plays first base and will be used as a left-handed bat coming off the bench. Outfielders, there's another 5. We have TJ Friedel, Noelvi Marte, Spencer Steele, Dane Myers, and Will Benson. Steers will be an everyday left fielder, but could shift over to other positions during the game as needed. Strong defender Myers, who has told he's made the club a few days before Saturday's cuts, plays his all 3 outfield spots and gives Cincinnati a true backup center fielder when Friedel needs a day off. Benson, also who earned the spot with the strong spring. Suarez, who's going to be the designated hitter, he can also play a little bit at third, as well. Excuse me. Man, I tell you, allergy seasons are the worst, and it doesn't help because my ears popped. Ah, boy. All right. So then the rotation right now has a 6-man starting front. We have Andrew Abbott, who get the opening day nod, Nick Lodolo, Brady Singer, Rhett Lauder, Chase Burns, and Brandon Williamson. We have 2 left-handed pitchers or 3 left-handed pitchers and 3 right-handed pitchers. Then as a relief spot, we have Emilio Pagan, Tony Santillan, Pierce Johnson, Brock Burke, Graham Ashcraft, Sam Maul, and Connor Phillips. So, with the extra starter in either Williamson, this allows 1 less spot for the bullpen, and Phillips was the last right-hander told he made the club during the previous rounds of cuts. Maul, who was out of options, had one of the best springs out of all relievers on the clubs and deserves the spot regardless of options status. Okay? So that is your 2026 opening day roster as of Monday, March 23rd, 2026. What do you guys think of the opening day roster? I think with injuries that prevail, we have opportunities. We talk about those opportunities. The Reds have the opportunity in the infield. I think you have to find a way to use Brian Hayes' ability at third base. His skill level is really good. With Suarez as your DH, you will put Sal Stewart at first. It could also run down to a lefty-righty situation if Sal becomes a slump hitter against righties. Then you could put in Nathaniel Lowe and have Sal come off the bench. You got McLean over at second. You have Ellie De La Cruz at short and Hayes at third. If Hayes needs a day off, you have Suarez. If McLean needs a day off, you have Sal Stewart. And if Ellie De La Cruz needs a day off, you have McLean. So I truly believe that we will see Sal Stewart play some second base. We'll see Nathaniel Lowe start some games at first. And we could very well see Suarez at third base. But the design is that it's simple. We want Suarez, which when we talked about this when we first picked him up, we want Suarez to be the designated hitter. We want him to focus on hitting, getting on base, and driving in some runs. Right? Fair to say? Well, in the outfield, we have TJ Friedl, Noelvi Marte, Spencer Steer, Dane Myers, and Will Benson. I like Steer. He's an option to play first base if needed. Noelvi Marte is a right fielder. He could play all over the outfield, which will be great. Benson, likewise, but he's a lefty. You have 2 lefties and 3 righties over here, and Dane Myers. Now, yeah, look, I feel bad for how JJ Bleday, you sign with the organization, you got to use a club option to go down to AAA to start the season off in the minors. Rhys Hines has a incredible spring training, but you're being told you're going to start the season off in right field. I could guarantee you these 2 guys are going to be your first set of call-ups when someone gets hurt, right? No questions about it. Keep up that good work over there down in Louisville. But it only makes sense when you're coming off the bench. You have Gino, who's going to be your DH, Trevino, who's going to be your catcher. Then you also have Hayes, who's going to be, well, not even Hayes. You also have then 3 spots, and you picked up Nathaniel Lowe, who's a left-handed guy. Benson's another left-handed guy. Trevino is a right-handed guy, and then you bring in Dane Myers. You got to have a lefty and a righty on the bench coming in the outfield. Now, I don't see a whole lot of mixing right now with Spencer at first, Marte at third. That's not going to happen. But there is that option, that availability, as we may see it. Now, the other interesting thing that kind of came to my attention is how the Cincinnati Reds were going to hold out their lineup. Well, we already know one thing. TJ Friedl's the leadoff spot. Usually pretty good at left-handed batters. Or, again, as a left-handed batter himself. Matt McLean is the secondary spot. I think you can only presume that Ellie De La Cruz bats third. Now, that's fun and all, but now you ask yourself, well, who you bat fourth? Who you bat cleanup, and so on and so forth. Well, in my opinion, back at the beginning of spring at least, we mentioned Gino, right? As a matter of fact, we saw a couple great spring training games where they went back-to-back home runs, and that's what we got excited for. That's why we picked them up, and we said that right here on our show. That's the reason why we picked them up, so we could see Suarez and Cruz go back-to-back, and home runs are going to piggyback off of them. But what's the number one issue that we have with these 2 players? For the amount of times they get on base, for the amount of times that they hit home runs and hit extra bases, they also strike out just as equal. So, Terry Francona has mentioned that Sal Stewart, who is on the trajectory of breaking out Star of the Year this year, and I want to see that as much as anybody else does, but that would help this lineup tremendously because he comes in as the cleanup guy. Suarez comes in as your fifth hole spot, and now you've broken up two batters who strike out a lot in a ball game. You move them in the third and fifth position, and possibly even sixth if it's needed, but it's all due with the design. Yes, you separate the strikeout ratio, but what you also create is somebody in between, like Sal Stewart, who can march up and get up to the major league roster, or who can get on base. He can get you on base. And just imagine Cruz's walks, or if Matt McClain or TJ Friedl, one of the two, get on base. Ellie De La Cruz gets on base too. Now you have runners in scoring positions. They probably pitch around Sal Stewart. Suarez comes up with the bases loaded with one out. That's a pretty gnarly situation, if you ask me. But what you're doing is that you're asking your opponent's pitcher to pitch select who you are going to throw to. And I feel like right there, that is a dangerous sign in that. I just for all the negative things that we can sit here and exclaim and kind of go through. This is what our roster is. I don't see anything wrong with our roster. Minus a few players, everyone's coming out of spring pretty well off. Given that, yeah, you know what, we can sit here and talk about the bad outings that our starters have had. The one thing that I don't want to see, and that's what I'm honestly fear of this season, is working that bullpen. You know, we've seen it in years past. It's kind of been that notorious predicament that the Reds put themselves every year, where our rotation cannot give you 5-6 solid innings, and it comes down to our bullpen, who does not really handle well against pressure. And so heading into this season, that is a risk that you are taking when you talk about talking about carrying a 6-man rotation. That's one less guy in the bullpen. That's one more inning of work that you rely on from your bullpen, that now you have one less guy to choose from. And I'm not saying, and it's practically two less guys, because if Emilio Pagan is not going to be used because he's a closer, and if you're going up against righty-lefty situations and you're getting nothing but right-handed batters, and you're not using a Brock, Brock Burke or Sam Moll, then I think you are really putting yourself in a position that honestly does not benefit the Cincinnati Reds. So heading into the season, I don't know what the expectations are for these pitchers. I'm assuming there's number of pitches they're going to allow them to throw the first couple outings, maybe number of innings. I don't know how long that lasts. And I know that the 6-man rotation is not a permanent thing, but while we have it, we have to use it to our advantage. The other thing that I really want to highlight here on a Monday heading into the new season is that Terry Francona openly admitted, something that is embedded into my mind last year, and I need to see this production this year, utilizing days off. We know the importance of the Reds playing everybody, every game. We know the impact it leads on Ellie De La Cruz and Gino in and out of that lineup. Same thing as Steer, as TJ Friedel, and especially Matt McClain and Sal Stewart. Terry Francona admitted that he had to do better to strategize and give these guys days off. I need to see that this year. I need to see some sort of thing that works out where Cruz is getting 2 to 3 days off a month, and on top of your regular days off. In the Locked On Reds podcast last season, I heard them talk about a strategy that I think that they could use this on both ends of a travel day about giving someone a day off. And they talked about Ellie De La Cruz. So on a getaway day, you could have Ellie De La Cruz have a day off. Maybe he's a DH, where now he comes into a travel day where it feels like he's having a day off before he goes into a new series. We have the I just wanted to kind of bring this up here and I pull it up real quick. But we look at the Reds' schedule. Okay. Now, this first week, I don't really say nothing of it. Okay. But here's something to keep a pose up. For example, in May, we are off April 13th. That's a Monday. And it's in between a series. We're home. We're just getting done with the Angels. We're over having the Giants come into town. This would be a day that I could say, Ellie De La Cruz, you're going to get the Tuesday off as well. You're not going to start the series off against the Giants. So you're going to get those 2 days off. So he'd played 10 consecutive days. He'll get 2 days off. He'll go on to play another 8 consecutive days before getting another day off. And then he'll play a 3-game series. Or you'd go back on April 23rd, which is the following Thursday. The series before that is in Tampa against the Rays, and you go on and say, you know what? All right, you're going to get the getaway day against the Rays off. It's an afternoon game. It's a travel day. We got to go back home, have that day off so that, you come back home, you get ready for the Tiger series. That's another option. Then if you need someone like Sal Stewart, like Gino, who needs a day off, you do it at the back end of that day. So if De La Cruz gets the Wednesday off, you're off Thursday, and then Gino gets a Saturday off. It's a balancing technique. And I think Terry Francona should utilize this schedule. I think I see a lot of open options here to utilize the schedule with. And you should. At the end of May, we go from April 28th. That's a 3-game series against the Rockies. And then we have a 3-game series in Pittsburgh, 4 games in Chicago, and 3 games at home against Houston. That's 3, 6, 10, 12 games in a row that we would have to play. Now, look, you could give Cruz a day off in between, but your best bet is that you need to make sure you find time, and I would say you don't need to play. We're off May 11th. We're home to the Nationals on May 12th. You don't have to play Cruz on the 12th. So how do we strategize to give Cruz a day off? If it's 1 day off a month, associated, linked towards what an off day is, then you're giving him 6 days off a year. He's still playing 155 plus games. I don't know. I would like to see a little bit more of that heading into this season. And I feel like that's something that we can work away from getting injuries, people being banged up, all that fun stuff. All right, before we get into our next set of conversations here, we will preview Monday Night Raw as we are shown. Before we do that, the WWE 2K26 video game is out now. Get your game now and play Showcase Mode as you follow along with CM Punk as he goes throughout his career, reliving some of the history and getting a chance to rewrite history in the Showcase Mode, getting a chance to win, reverse decisions, and pick up victories against talent that he did not win in real life. WWE 2K26 is available now. Alrighty, WWE Raw is live tonight. We are just 26 days away from WrestleMania 42. We are expected to see Roman Reigns and CM Punk under the same roof. Brock Lesnar is to make an appearance after being taken out by Obafemi last week. We see Becky Lynch, who will address her blindside attack of the Women's Intercontinental Champion, AJ Lee. The Usos will defend their World Tag Team titles against Austin Theory and Logan Paul. That and more to come on Monday Night Raw, available on Netflix at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Look, we are on that final stretch. It is 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar, I think, had one of the, if not the biggest pops on this road to WrestleMania when Obafemi accepted his challenge. I think this is going to be a great match. I'm going to tune in because I want to see what Brock Lesnar has to say or do and what happens next. There's not much that you have to tell between these two men. It's Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, and Obafemi, who's trying to mark his claim in WWE history. Well, we haven't really talked about it over the last couple of weeks. AJ Lee goes on to beat Becky Lynch at Elimination Chamber, becomes a new Women's Intercontinental Champion, and I'm certain that AJ Lee is not done with that. We may see a rematch heading into WrestleMania, but that still comes tonight on Raw. Well, CM Punk and Roman Reigns feud heat up. It's been a long waiting, but the time is counting down before we see these two men brawl. CM Punk has made things personal about his Roman Reigns' family and all that fun stuff. It's just something that you got to tune in and see what happens next, what's going to be the last left. The tag team titles here on Raw. I kind of said this a little bit last week. I want to kind of reiterate this again. I think it will be a great time that the tag team titles shift hands and change. I would love to see Logan Paul and Austin Theory make their win the title, in my opinion, and maybe this separates Jimmy and Jay once again, possibly to a WrestleMania match. That's what I would like to see, but I don't know if we'll get that. But the tag team titles are on the line. And like I said, be sure to check out Raw tonight on Netflix at 8 p.m. Road to WrestleMania continues. All right. We're moving right along here, and let me get down to my final segment. Before we get to the final segment, MLB The Show 26 is out. Get your game, play Diamond Dynasty, play Road to the Show, play franchise mode, play as your favorite team, lead them to a World Series, or create a player and be the best of the best. I just got my game. I'm getting my franchise set up. We'll probably talk more about that in tomorrow's episode, through and through. But, if you guys are looking to get your video games, get them today, get ready for the season. It is a hot time of the year. Alrighty, so on this week, it's going to be a very rapid week, I will say. Not because I am running out of time, but because there's only 3 days before the regular season begins. Now, due to time restraints, we only got about 10 minutes left of this episode. We will only cover the first two teams of the league, both in the American League and in the National League. We will give you our predictions today. We'll come back tomorrow, give you a little bit more of a hefty load. And then we'll come back on Wednesday before the first pitch of the new season, give you the full swing in our predictions of the American League West and National League West. Now, if you guys have missed any of our other predictions the last couple of weeks, feel free to tune back into one of our older episodes and check them out. We begin with the Houston Astros, who finished off 87-75 last year under general manager Dana Brown. They are projected by the Lindsay Sports Magazine to finish in second place of the AL West. Kind of came to shock to me that the Houston Astros did not make the postseason, not even in the wild card spot. Does that repeat itself? And they're going to have to do that without Framber Valdez, one of the biggest departures from this team this past year, along with Ramon Urias and Mauricio Dubon. But they still have a team, maybe an older team, but they still have a talented team. They have Hunter Brown, a huge development success story, who finished third in the AL Cy Young voting last year. Christian Javier, back from surgery, looking with gravity-defying fastball intact. Mike Burrows gave up two prospects for this guy. Looks for high anticipation heading to this year. And Lance McCullers Jr., former curveball masters, as faded into the sinker slider junk baller. Josh Hader will be the closer, has 40% strikeout rate in 9-year career. And we still have a familiar starting lineup and roster positions. Christian Walker was batting .238 last season, was the lowest of his 11-year career. Jose Altuve is back in the lineup, moved to left field. Has not worked out, remains a great hitter. Carlos Correa was a .290 hitter after being traded to the Astros last summer. Jeremy Pena, Jesus Sanchez, and so on and so forth. I feel like they have a decent lineup. I think we could value Mike Burrows, his dominant changeup, and his latest product of Houston's pitching factory, and is an ideal late-round flyer with breakout potential. What to be honest, to look out for is Yordan Alvarez, a slugger who provides elite production when healthy. But you have to accept that he's almost guaranteed to miss time every year. Health is key. Let's look out the Astros minor league prospects, as Bryce Matthews, an infielder, high ceiling player according to the Athletic, 2040 potential and good plate discipline. Strikeouts are concerns, but hey, who doesn't have a strikeout problem? Walker Janek, the catcher, defensive first catcher with the Astros, hope will hit enough to be a regular, as he's shown plus power and aggressive approach remains a concern. Xavier Neans is an infielder, lefty batter who gets too big to stick at shortstop, but has plenty of power to be a plus bat for the third base. The Astros roll the dice on him this past year. So, for the Astros, and real quick aspects here, I see the Astros finishing in second place. I do see that the Astros are taking a step backwards, like I said, due to age, due to health and injury risk. They still have players. You're going to expect a lot from them to maintain it. I wouldn't even be surprised if they finished in third place this year, possibly to the Angels or even to the Rangers. But I don't expect them going back to the playoffs this year. If they do, it'd probably be a wild card position. All right, the Arizona Diamondbacks is the National League West team we'll talk about today. They finished a game under 500, 2 games under 500. They were 80-82 last year. They are projected by Lindsay Sports to finish in fourth place of the division. They did pick up Michael Sciorca, Morel Kelly, Zach but we're looking at a team who had really good power. Now, they did went out there and they traded away Suarez, or they let him walk and they traded away him during the spring training, or during the deadline, right? But we got Corbin Burnes, former Cy Young winner, likely to return as an All-Star break. Cutter remains formidable. You have Merrill Kelly, who's 6-pitch starter with the changeup specialist, excels luring hitters and into batting string. Yeah, Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez. They have a pretty good front, I think. Ketel Marte, guy who they did not ended up trading, electrifying power, speed combination, and often at clutch performer relationships with the team unsettled. Geraldo Perdomo with terrific feel for contact and a great approach. He broke out in 2025, expects to do the same thing this year. Alex Tomas, too aggressive and strikes out prone for such. Corbin Carroll rumped at his bat speed up to 74.7 miles per hour in 2025, bordering on elite, tapped into more power and tweaked swinging path. The Diamondbacks prospects, kind of taking a look at what they have. We have Ryan Waltzman, an outfielder type of hitter that does all things pretty well without a truly elite tool. He doesn't chase a lot, but he doesn't hit the ball out of the yard. We also got outfielder Slade Caldwell, outfielder and one of the most patient hitters in the minors. He walked his way to a 3.370 OBP and a high A last year, and will watch pitchers in the major leagues park soon. Demetrio, the infielder, surgery cut his 2025 season short. Middle infielder has shown quality tool and a very good feel for the strike zone. Whether he could generate power will be all depending on how he recovers from his injury here this coming up season. The Arizona Diamondbacks, this NL West team is just really good. The Dodgers are up there, the Padres and the Giants are expected to be up there. I do find the Diamondbacks and the Rockies to find themselves at the bottom of the division, but they, everyone has a chance, right? And we've seen the Diamondbacks make some surprises. Now, a real quick note on Ketel Marte. I feel like he's one of those guys who, they didn't depart with him last year. Maybe the value wasn't too great. We'll head into June and July and see what the stories look like for Ketel Marte. He's going to have a good winning season, whether or not it looks good on his resume for future ball clubs, or if not, the Arizona Diamondbacks have a trading tool. So if they're looking to tank and they need to open something up, they can definitely trade him. If they are looking to contend, they may definitely consider keeping him as well. But the Arizona Diamondbacks, I predict to finish off in fourth place behind the San Francisco Giants in the National League West. Tomorrow, we will come back and talk about the Dodgers and Angels, the Rockies, and what do you got? The Rockies, was it the Texans, and the Astros, Houston Astros. And then on Wednesday, we'll talk about the Giants and A's, as well as the, what do we got? Yeah, we're going to talk about the Rockies. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the Angels and Dodgers, Rockies, and Rangers. And Astros. Yeah, Rangers. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Dodgers, Angels, Rangers, Rockies. On Wednesday, we'll talk about the Padres, Mariners, Giants, and Athletics. So, that is all the time I have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you guys are watching us on our YouTube page. Please hit that follow button and share this with a friend. Please also feel free to comment in our comment section below and let us know what you guys think of today's sports conversation on our Facebook page. While you're there, be sure to follow, and also follow us on our TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and more. And you could also download us and take us on the road with you at the gym, at work, in the car, wherever you guys get your audio podcast. The TNC Sports Talk is there for your discretion. We'll come back tomorrow. We are counting down the days to WrestleMania, as well as opening day, as that comes up later this week. Thank you guys for tuning in to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Until tomorrow, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.